Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, you fantastic people, wherever you are. Welcome to Chibi Reads Reddit. I'm your host, DoomChibi99. Today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. So sit back, get cozy, grab a drink, and let's read. That's why you work in a gas station. Except I don't. This happened to my husband recently. He went inside the gas station to grab some snacks while I waited in the car. I saw this lady walk in after him, and a few minutes later, he walked out and got back in the car. While he got himself situated, the lady walked back out, and he glared at her. "Man, I can't stand people like that," he said, gesturing to her. I asked him, "What happened?" He said that while he was browsing the snacks, the lady came in all loud yelling, "Excuse me! Excuse me!" Apparently, she was looking for the attendant who had momentarily disappeared. Well then, she turns to my husband and says, "Excuse me, I need some help." He looks up confused and points to himself, asking, "Me?" And she says nastily, "Obviously. Damn, so stupid. That's why you work in a gas station." Uh-oh. At that point, the gas attendant returned and quite obviously heard her. My husband was pissed because not only was she wrong, he didn't work there, but she had the nerve to belittle someone's profession right where they could hear her. So he gives her a disdainful look and tells her, "First of all, I don't work here. Obviously, I'm a customer," indicating the snacks. "Second, you need to learn some manners and be patient." Then he walks up to the counter to purchase his snacks, giving the attendant an apologetic look. As he's leaving, he sneers at the lady, and then walks past her to the door. He said she had the grace to look embarrassed. I made a face when he told me the story, and then we both looked up at her through the windshield. She saw us looking at her and likely knew we were talking about her, so she quickly walked off looking shamefaced and went to pump her gas. The audacity of some people is unbelievable. Unfortunately for her, she messed with the wrong person that day. Hopefully she takes his advice and learns some manners. Trifecta! This didn't happen to me, but I saw the events unfold, and Jesus, holy Christ! Basically, a guy in ordinary clothes, jeans and a t-shirt, was shopping holding a basket. He dressed nothing like the employees who wear black pants and a black vest with the name of the store in green. She just marched up to him, grabbed his arm, spun him around, screaming something incoherent about perfume. The guy tried to tell the woman, who was quite literally foaming at the mouth, spit going anywhere, that he wasn't an employee. She was having none of it, and started screaming, getting right into the guy's face. The guy said, "If you touch me, I'll defend myself and you won't like it." She gives him an open-handed shove to his shoulder, and I think he's about to punch her in her smug face, but he somehow restrains himself. She stomps off. End of story, you'd think. However, she comes back dragging a guy in a suit from the next aisle over, screaming stuff about, "I want this guy fired. He threatened me and said he wouldn't serve me because I'm a witch with a bee." The guy in the suit, as surprised as everyone, says, "Let go of my arm. I'm not a manager. I don't know this guy. I don't even work here." Karen turns around and slaps the guy as hard as she can. Due to the screaming, etc., police have already been called, and an officer appears and makes his way down the aisle. Karen starts screaming that both these guys tried to intimately assault her, and she wants them fired and arrested. The cop eventually manages to get everyone's story. An actual manager arrives and says that they can check the cameras. The woman is screaming that the cop is in on it all, and is working with both these perverted gay slurs beginning with F to grape her. Yes, she accused them of being gay men who wanted to grape a woman. Go figure. She then kicks the cop and tries to book it out of the store, but she's kind of chubby and can barely walk, much less run. So she tries to waddle away. Doesn't work. Cop tackles her to the ground and puts her in cuffs. End of story there, as I don't know what happened. Just that she was obviously arrested for assaulting 3 people. Do these freakish Karens think everyone works at every store and they go to and they are the sole customer? Karens, man. Karen Pithecus and Title Day. If I ever come up against one, I'm gonna sing, "Nobody cares." 12-year-olds don't work at Home Depot. Just remembered another incident, but hardly dramatic. Home Depot had, maybe still does, look into it if you have a kid 12 or under, a kids' workshop where on a certain Saturday of the month, they have a craft for kids to do. There's hammering, screwing, painting, etc. One month it was a birdhouse, one was a rain gauge, etc. My daughter loved it, so we went whenever we could. Every kid got a little HD apron and a pin. Aw, it's so cute. I have to ask my friend about this. Well, it was the last one she qualified for. She would be 13 before the next one. And since she was tall for her age, we were actually surprised they didn't confront us by saying she was too old. We did her craft, then we went looking through the store because I needed a few things. Guy comes up to us and asks where something is. I say, sorry, I don't know. Think nothing of it. 10 minutes later, I realize this guy has been stalking us through the aisles. Every time I see him, he's just staring at us. I say to my daughter, Rhiannon, take off your apron and give it to me. Usually she wants a reason, but I think the tone of my voice made it clear I was worried. So she did. Next time I saw him, he did that Cocker Spaniel head tilt, and I saw a realization cross his face, that my 12-year-old was not an employee. Hopefully he found a real employee. Felt bad he wasted all that time, though. I promise you, I don't work here. My job has me working in a couple of local grocery stores a couple days a week. I'm not a brand rep. I don't wear any branded clothing. I also initially avoid wearing the colors of the store brand, since my job has me bending, reaching, and kneeling a lot. I'm usually in leggings and things like Disneyland t-shirts or shirts with cute sayings, and offensive stuff like that. I've also got on a mini backpack for my stuff and a tablet or phone that I'm working on. Nice outfit. Despite this, I often have people stop and ask me if I work at the store. That's fine, I get it. I'm clearly working and I'm in the store, so if they're nice when they ask, I try to help them anyway. I'm in those stores a lot, and I know where a lot of stuff is. And if I don't know, I know exactly who they can ask if they aren't nice. And if they aren't nice, I just say, I don't work here, and move on. I've had a few experiences like that. One day I'm doing my thing, listening to my podcast when I feel someone watching me. I glance over my shoulder, and sure enough, I'm getting the lead paint stare from an old man at the end of an aisle. I keep working, but I'm working my way down the aisle in his direction. Eventually, I get close enough to him, and he asks, "Do you work here?" I don't like his vibe, so I just tell him I don't and try to move on. He stops me, though, and says, "Well, you look like you work here." I just say, "Okay, well, I don't." And once again, I try to move around him. This man starts following me around the store, just telling me, almost yelling, that I look like I work here. Mind you, he hasn't asked me anything else. No, I just want to know where the pickles are, or anything. I try to ignore him, but eventually I can't anymore. I put on my mom voice and say, "I promise you I don't work here, because if I did, I would have you kicked out for harassment." He shuffled away after that. I'm not sure where you got that impression. Not a terribly dramatic story, but I still think about it and chuckle, so I'm posting it. So, a bit of background. I dress in a very mall gothy fashion when I'm out and about. Dark colors, smudgy eyeliner, spooky prints and patterns, funky jewelry, the works. So if I'm out in this kind of getup, I don't look like I work anywhere. Except Hot Topic, but that story is boring. What's wrong with that? And yet... So last October, I went on a little solo vacation to a city in another state, and I was visiting a small museum of different optical illusions. And it's mostly a photo op location, and like the stereotypical young millennial elder Gen Z I am, I was taking some selfies with some of the illusion setups. I think this happened shortly after my brain had finally adjusted to the spinning tunnel of illusion, and I was able to get my photo and get out of there before I got any dizzier. Okay, I gotta pause the story for a sec because I've been through something like that over in Edinburgh. It's at the Camera Obscura in World of Illusions. Basically, you're on this platform going through this tube that's spinning one way, but it feels like you're rotating the other way. It's very disorienting, but it is very fun. If you ever wind up in Edinburgh, Scotland, I highly suggest the Camera Obscura and World of Illusions. Anyway, back to the story. A lady calls me over and asks me to explain an illusion. She's polite about it, so I go over and take a look. It's something about two apparently different sized pieces of paper actually being the same size. I try to make sense of it, but I don't get it myself and tell her as such. She then asks, "Don't you work here?" I look around. The staff are all wearing name tags and plain black shirts. Both layers of shirts I'm wearing have at least one skull on them. I'm also wearing fingerless gloves, and I keep running my fingers under a spiked choker with a "Hail Satan" pendant hanging from it because the leather is sticking uncomfortably to my skin. "No, sorry, I don't," I reply awkwardly. Thankfully, she laughs it off and finds an actual employee. I stick around because now I'm invested in this. Gameplay doesn't get it either. It's all about perspective! The line of sight! They are the same size, but one at a distance can look bigger, while one short of a distance looks smaller. Red shirt in a tire store in Canada. Ooh, I think this is Canadian Tire, because the other red shirt store I know of up here is Home Hardware. But if it involves tires, it's Canadian Tire, the red triangle. I took my annual walkabout on my motorcycle this past week. I was wandering around Toronto, woohoo, and decided to kill a few minutes in a tire store in Canada. Because why not? The store in question may not sell many tires. It does use a red uniform. I had on a shirt from Cortland College here in New York. Quite red. Not being from Canada and unfamiliar with their ways, I entered said store and within minutes, 2 different encounters. One was an immediate oops. The other took a second for that look of embarrassment. I walked out thinking about seeing how many more encounters I could have if I could stay there a little longer. No Karens, no unpleasantries, just Canada. Well, at least that one was a little wholesome, and I found some comments going into the nerd side of the force, so red shirts, know what I mean? Be careful, the Romulans will get you. If you know, you know. Anybody or anything, actually. Hey, a red shirt is a red shirt, and is an extra who pissed off the director for that episode. Am I mistaken in thinking that Scotty wore a red shirt before the movies? Unless the M5 was involved, an engineer red shirt was generally safe. Scotty is best red shirt. May James Doohan rest in peace. He is best red shirt. Scotty was the best. And I'm glad Simon Pegg took up the role in the remakes, okay? A narrow escape in aisle 4. So, this is more of a proxy, I don't work here lady, and a thank you to everyone who posts such lively examples of Karens in the wild. To set the scene, I was recently at a large grocery store that rhymes with flyer. They have really long grocery aisles that split in the middle with a perpendicular space for better flow through. I go there absurdly early in the morning because the music is played at a quieter volume and the only people out in the store are the workers stocking the shelves and retirees who wake up right at sunrise. Usually, I'm happy to help when asked nicely. Everything from pulling something heavy into a cart, reaching the top shelf, even laying on the floor and collect glasses that have been accidentally kicked beneath the shelf. The older regulars and I exchange idle pleasantries, and they know me as one of the usual people around. I'm in the cracker/cookie aisle, and a stock employee is pulling a large metal dolly towards the back of the store, with a stack of deconstructed boxes piled onto it. Before she can get to the end of the aisle, 2 mobility scooters round the corner and block her path. And this was not accidental. It's clear the scooters were lined up intentionally to block the entire aisle. This was a man and a woman. The man looked down at his phone, trying to ignore the madness, while the woman smugly crossed her arms. She was the human embodiment of a sour grape. I'm towards the front of the aisle, but I can hear this lady exclaim that since the stock person works there, she must do this woman's shopping for her. She's shaking a paper grocery list at the stock person, and she has the exact same facial expression as the gif of the angry little girl shaking a hairbrush. The poor stock person is trying to explain that she doesn't work in customer service, that she is simply there to stock shelves, but the grumpy grape isn't having it. Eventually, the stock person loudly states in frustration, "I don't have time for this," and pushes the dolly backwards into the middle of the aisle gap, circumventing the blockade. This retreat is met with flying obscenities and threats of talking to management, but the stock person moves quickly enough that the scooters can't reposition in time. I can hear the employee's dolly move down an unblocked aisle into the back of the store, out of reach. If you thought that this was the end of it, oh dear reader, you are wrong. The woman then loudly exclaims, "We'll just get the other girl to help us," with an annoyed huff. I almost instantly realize that I'm the only person left in the aisle, and I'm dressed very similarly to the stock person, jeans and t-shirt. For the briefest moments, I did think about explaining to the woman that I don't work there. I did have a shopping cart after all, but the daunting stories through Reddit have taught me that sensible explanations often lead to conflict and sometimes even assault. This cantankerous woman could fill a Karen bingo card with all of her exploits. I knew my immediate peril and quickly moved in the opposite direction, scurrying around the corner before she could even try to flag me down with her shopping list. She even tried loudly clicking her fingers like I was a dog. It was genuinely surprising how loudly she snapped her fingers and with her dried up witch hands. But that probably is due to a lot of practice from treating people like slaves. You can call me a jerk for not helping my elders, but there's no way I'm getting involved with someone who wants me to gather her groceries while she yells at me. By the time I got to the self-checkout register, only the man was in the scooter while the woman was bagging/checking groceries on her feet. I make no claims or assumptions about her physical capabilities, but I did think it was weird that she ditched the scooter somewhere instead of having someone scan her groceries for her. Regardless of the time of day, there's always 2 people helping at self-checkout, and there's a checkout lane with another employee available. As I passed her register to do my own self-checkout, she gave me such a venomous stare, but thankfully she kept most of her insults under her breath, instead of choosing confrontation. I think Reddit just saved this OP. So thank you, Redditors. You taught me how to spot a dangerous Karen in the wild, and I avoided this situation. Bravo to Reddit for warning this OP about the Karens! I also have a little I don't work here story, but it involves, I think, a Buddhist monk who was looking for laundry detergent. He asked nicely, I helped him out. It was a good day. Canada's Wonderland. Oh boy, here we go! The story starts in early August 2024. I was in Toronto for a few days with my dad. This was our second day here, so we decided to look around. We were at Canada's Wonderland after visiting the CN Tower and Toronto Island after that. Holy crap, that's quite a distance! After 45 minutes getting from Toronto to Vaughan, I decided to go on Clockworks for my first ride. After a little while, I was the next person in line. My dad was sitting nearby. Here's where the reason I came to the subreddit starts. I was wearing a blue shirt and I believe it was black shorts. For those uneducated on Cedar Fair, the parent company of Canada's Wonderland, Valley Fair, among 6 other parks that has recently merged with Six Flags, for the most part, ride operators wear red shirts and in some cases a dark blue sweater. For both scenarios, it would have the park name on it on the left-hand side. There were 2 lanes. One is for regulars, the other is a fast lane. If you pay $75 Canadian or about $50 US, you get to bypass the lines at 22 rides at Canada's Wonderland. The people that came to me were 2 women, likely sisters, and their kids. They were waiting in the fast lane, while I was next in line in the normal lane. Here's a sorta accurate conversation between me and them. I have a bad memory, so forgive me. Excuse me, do you know when's the last ride? As they were asking when they'll stop operating for the night. Not too sure about that time? I have no idea. I think once the park closes, they close off the entrances to all rides and let whoever's still in line have a ride before closing it for the night. To which I found out that this is the case. I wasn't too sure how they do it at other parks, especially in Canada. I thought maybe they want to know when the ride closes. I didn't think they would mistake me for an employee. It was after a few seconds when they realized that I didn't work here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you worked here. Basing her assumption off the uniform of the guy checking everyone's height and myself, a teenager who is unemployed and is only in Canada for purposes of tourism, not on a work visa. And the fact that I'm in line and not on the employee's side, she then told her acquaintance the reasons to her conclusion that I worked there, citing my position in the line and the clothing. It's fine, laughing somewhat internally while they do the same. It's been a long time since I've been to Canada's Wonderland. I'll have to go again sometime when it's not too pricey. After that, the woman and her, I believe 2 or 3 kids, got in line when the other woman's kid, just one, misplaced their fast lane wristband in some way. She then asked the guy enforcing the height restriction on the ride about the situation, to which he told them that they needed the wristband to get on the ride through the fast lane, and that they need to go back to the entrance of the park to get a new one. The woman, not delighted with his response, expressed some anger, but not in the same way as the stereotypical antagonist in these stories. More of, I don't like your response, but seeing as how you have authority over me, Well, I will respectfully acknowledge and honor your judgment, but I'm still angry. After half a minute, she and her kid went to the front to get a new wristband, while her acquaintance and her kids went on the ride. I told my dad there was an I don't work here moment and got on the ride. The reason it took me this long after posting was because, I forgot. Canada's Wonderland. Looks like we've reached the end of today's video, but fret not, I'll be back tomorrow with more Reddit stories just for you. Want to get notified of the next video? Tap that bell icon. Want to subscribe? Tap the button. It's completely free. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, catch you later, my Chibi Dominators.